Hi, everybody. This is Kana with Fusion Wellness Academy. And today we're going to draw a neurotree of compassion. I think this is one quality that's sorely lacking in our times. It seems like people have lost the ability to relate to others even more than is the case usually. And I would like to see compassion grow and according to spiritual laws, whatever you focus on will grow. So the more we focus on compassion, the more we'll see it growing. And in neurographics, the algorithm of Neurotree is the one that we use when we want to grow something. So we're going to activate the neurons in our brains that relate to compassion. And this is why I downloaded this little thing that will remind me everything I want to say to make sure I don't forget anything. This is how we know that somebody is Jewish. We're supposed to see how compassionate they are to their fellow human beings. And if a person lacks compassion, we suspect their origin. This is what it says in the Talmud. One of the terms we use for God is the compassionate, the merciful one. For a Jew, being compassionate is the highest of virtues. And we know that Amalek is the nation that we were commanded to destroy, lack compassion entirely. We are even supposed to have compassion for animals. And in fact, this is how Moshe Rabbeinu was chosen for leadership, because he had compassion on the lamb. There are a few more stories here that relate to compassion. And especially this, I found this one particularly profound when Rabbi Yehuda, the one who composed the Mishnah, one time he was approached by a calf who was being led to slaughter, and Rabbi Yehuda turned him away and said, "Go, for this you were created." And he was severely punished for doing so because he lacked compassion. We know that the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed because we lacked compassion for one another. We engaged in baseless hatred, and we are still paying the price for that today. So now we're going to proceed to the algorithm of Neurotree, and I'm going to switch to the other camera that will actually show you what I'm doing. What we do first is to activate the neural pathways that relate to the subject that we're dealing with. And this is why I've prepared a pen and paper, and I'm going to do a timer for 2 minutes, during which we will allow our thoughts to run wild and write any free associations that we have with the word compassion and anything that relates to it. Okay, so here you go. Here's my timer. And here is a pen. And I'm going to start writing anything that comes to mind that has to do with compassion. 1, 2, 3, go. 30 seconds left. All right, time is up. Let's count how many words we've got. I've got 27, which means that this issue is an important one for me. Okay, now I'm going to stop mirroring my video at this point and open the notebook where I usually do neurographics. All right, I hope you can see exactly what's going on here. All right. Okay, so with the Neurotree algorithms, we place our paper vertically. And then we take a soft pencil, some people prefer markers, and we draw some kind of a ground where our Neurotree will be growing from. Some kind of a line somewhere here. If you can see what I'm doing. Let's move the camera here. Yeah. And then I'm going to start growing my tree out of it. As you know, a neurographic line is one that does not repeat itself at any point of its course. And you can never predict where it's going to go. It always surprises us. All right, so I'm going to draw one such line. It's a neurographic line, and it's going to be the outline of my tree, something like that. That is my tree. And here is the other side. How big is my compassion, really? How much compassion do I have for other people? Apparently not so much. It's quite narrow over here, so I'd like to expand it. And for that, I'm going to draw another neural line. And here I'm expanding my compassion for other people, expanding the growth that I have over here, right? All right. What do we grow our Neurotree out of? Right. What could I place in the ground that will allow me to grow more compassion for other people? Perhaps I can put here our forefathers and our ancestors in general. They used to have a lot of compassion, and this is where we learn it from. It's the main quality of Abraham was chesed, and it's of course connected to compassion, rachamim. And what else is a good resource for compassion? I would say empathy, maybe. Understanding other people's pain. Maybe the Torah allows us to feel other people's pain and following the mitzvot. Each one can think of their own resources, and even if you don't think you have them, you can draw them and thereby acquire them. Sources could interlock and interact between them. And here's another resource. Maybe that's enough. I'm not so sure. And now I would like to grow this Neurotree of Compassion out of these resources. So I'm beginning to draw their energy upwards and place what I've done with more neurographic lines. I'm connecting all of the resources and allowing them to grow on my page and expand and create branches, branch out. All of the resources are interconnected. You can start on one side and continue onto the other. And we're feeding our neurotree with the energy of our resources. It's okay to trace the lines that we've already created. It's perfectly fine to do that and create interactions between them. There we go. And maybe even cross from one side to the other. That is also perfectly fine. And with every neural line that I'm drawing, I'm forcing it a little bit out of its predicted course. I'm forcing it to go in the other direction. Oh, this resource has remained untouched, so I'm picking energy up from here. And at the same time, I'm listening to the feelings in my body. There's a tightness in my third chakra, in my abdomen. I have to do with being recorded over here, or it might have to do with my worry that maybe I'm not compassionate enough. Maybe I could be more so. All right, so there we go. There's some kind of a tree over here that's grown out of my page. It's my Neurotree of Compassion. And as always in your graphics, we need to round up all the corners because triangle is a symbol of conflict. It's a point, it's sharp, it's dangerous, it's cutting. So I don't want any sharp points in my Neurotree. I want it to grow smoothly and create harmony. So this is why I'm going to round up all the sharp corners over here towards the inside. If you're using a marker, it might be a bit easier because it doesn't smudge, but I always use a pencil. Don't know why, it's just what comes naturally to me. And then as you're rounding all the sharp corners, then you might feel a bit of a resistance to this process. This is where it usually happens when your body refuses to cooperate with you, especially if you're processing a traumatic event or something that's difficult for you to look at. You'd rather avoid the subject. Maybe you feel that you've been compassionate enough, whereas others, on the other hand, they haven't had any compassion for you. And that might cause a bit of resistance. And then I've had people literally unable to do their drawing. They say that their pencil doesn't go where they want it to go. It holds them back. So on the one hand, you can abandon your project at this point, switch off the video and throw your notebook in the cupboard and be done. But then, of course, you will see no benefits from this practice if you abandon it at this point when you feel a bit of resistance. When you start thinking, oh, it's just a stupid thing, who said it even works? Trust me, it does. And here, look, these are already rounded. At this point, if you managed to round the corners, you might start feeling a sense of accomplishment. You might feel like you like your picture, it's working well for you. Don't be scared to make thick lines and declare your presence to the world loud and clear. It's okay, this is what we're here for. And as you're rounding out the corners, again, listen to the sensations in your body. Heaviness anywhere, heat, cold, shivering. Some people start crying at this point. They become really overwhelmed. All kinds of things come to mind, events. Maybe a time when somebody should have had compassion, but they didn't. That doesn't change our obligations, though, to have compassion for them, every single person in this world. Here we go. All nice and rounded. If you need to stop, then the ideal time to take a break is right after you finish rounding things up, because then you're not in a position of conflict. Then your energy field is at peace. You don't want to walk away from the drawing with a sizzling conflict in you. That would not be our goal. So it's advisable not to abandon a neurographic drawing at this stage until everything is beautifully rounded up. And I think I'm done here. What do you think? Do you see any sharp corners anywhere? I'm going to look over it again. I want to smooth out all the conflicts over here. Make it peaceful. All right, so here we go. At this point in the original algorithm, we add fruit. Because we're not just striving for nothing, compassion for the sake of compassion. We want to see our lives changed. What would happen to us, to our lives, if we would learn to have true compassion for other people? Fruit of a neurotree is the resource of future miracles. So we want quite a few of them. You can draw them in any color you like. Afterwards, you can blend them with other things or make them separate, up to you. Ideally, a neurotree is not something you should hurry. It's an algorithm that could take months. You can obviously add another page and continue growing it afterwards. Okay, so I'm going to add fruit here, and you don't have to name it, but it would have peace. If we had compassion, I think it would have quite a lot of joy if everybody was kind to each other. Could you imagine how much compassion we would have? How much more happiness we would have? And here's a small pile of fruit that has already fallen to the ground. How's that? And obviously, when I'm adding fruit, I'm also adding sharp corners. So I'm going to round them up. Immediately as I draw the fruit, I'm also rounding up the corners. There we go. And another one. And fruit here. You don't have to name them, but you can decide for yourself what miraculous fruit you would have as a result of making an effort in this area. Here we go. Any more fruit? What do you think? Maybe one more over here, right at the top. All right. And at this point, we can start coloring it in. This is 4.2 on the basic algorithm, and from here we follow the regular steps of the removal of limitations or the basic algorithm. Okay, and here are the colors. I'm going to start with light blue. It's the voice chakra. I've been talking a lot, so I guess my throat chakra is very active. Here we go. You can use any color you like. You can use markers or crayons or pencils. And what I like to do here is to create a flow. Join together a few parts. And if you find something you haven't rounded up, you can do it as you're coloring. That's okay. It's the color of the sky. Kiseh kavod. Maybe we'll merit to see that if we're truly compassionate people. What do you think? We manage to shift things in this country and in our own psyches. And neurographics changes lives, as we know. Okay, so here's a flow of blue. And we always start coloring same way as we started growing this tree. We start coloring it from the ground and up. This is the archetype level of our work. And if you listen to yourself and see what images come to mind, you might think of Abraham, who was compassionate. You might think of Moshe, other figures in the Torah and in our history who were examples of compassion. Yellow corresponds to the third chakra, which is in our solar plexus, in our abdomen. And it is responsible for our relationship with other people. So it's no wonder I grabbed it. Our position in society vis-a-vis other people is in our third chakra. If you look at somebody and you see that their body language says, "Don't beat me, I'm scared of you," you can be sure that their third chakra has a weakness and sometimes barely functioning. On the other hand, if you see a person who is overly confident and sometimes even aggressive, you can be sure that the third chakra is overactive and needs calming down in order for them to function normally. And with that, again, I'm trying to create a flow from the ground and up. You don't have to color everything. Remember, white is a color. And I'm just allowing my purple to flow freely up and to develop itself in the world. And perhaps we'll expand into here. Purple is the sixth chakra, or the so-called third eye. It's not the only thing that it does. The third chakra is the mind, not just intuition. Here's another corner I didn't round up. Well, right. Mind, intuition, awareness, knowledge. That's all purple. Just the third eye, magical powers. It's our birthright, by the way. Third eye, it's not a unique ability. It's everybody's birthright. And as soon as we start growing spiritually and developing our abilities, they come back just like that. You know, we all had it as kids. We had the sight until the adults in our lives made it their job to laugh at us, joke about it. "Oh, my child thinks she's got a monster in the cupboard. Oh, that is so funny, haha." And that made us stop seeing whatever we were seeing and deny our feelings and our emotions. And by, pushing these things into our shadow, repressing them, would also cause a lack of compassion, because, as you know, hurt people hurt people. If we were not hurt, we wouldn't be hurting others. No excuse, of course. It's not an excuse to hurt others if you were hurt first. But in my opinion, nobody hurts other people if they weren't hurt first. That's what I think. We are all victims on some level, and that we could choose whether we want to stay in that or whether we want to grow out of it and achieve higher levels. In spirituality, being a victim is a choice and an option, but then you don't go very far, you know. You just kind of stay in that and don't grow. In order to have compassion for others, we cannot be a victim. It's victims that lash out on others and hurt them and abuse them and continue considering themselves a victim. The second we take responsibility for our lives and our own growth, hurting others becomes pretty much impossible. Here's red. Red is the base chakra. foundation of our spines. It's a connection to physical world. It's our money, it's our dwellings, it's our relationship with food. It's all there. I realized I haven't added any green. Green is the heart chakra. It's the color of love. Almost all of our processes go through the heart chakra one way or another. So I'm going to give it some presence in my Neurotree. That's nearly there. And another corner that I failed to round up. Can always do that later. I think at this point I'm almost ready to face the other drivers on the roads that we have here, you know. I'm sure you all know what the situation is on our roads. I think I might have just enough compassion to deal with them, right? All right, so I'm done with the level of archetypes, and now we are onto the next stage, which is called the lines of the field. I'm going to look for a darker marker. Right. So here is the Neurotree, and we're going to trace the lines of the field. And if at this point I notice something that needs fixing, something that I would like to change and color and make better, we can do that. All right, what else I would like to see more pronounced? Perhaps this. It's not a very strong marker. I don't have to follow the lines that are already there. I can create new ones, you know. It's my Neurotree of Compassion, growing out of these lines, growing out of the ground. And then there's 1 or 2 steps left still. After I'm done with the lines of the field, I'm going to round up all the corners again to make sure they're smooth with pre-existing lines as well, to make sure there's nothing sharp sticking out over here. And then the last and final step, we are going to set the timer again. You can do it by yourselves and write another list of words with free association and see how it changed from the first list to the second list. So here's a Neurotree. I'd like to enhance it a little bit, maybe. This is also part of the basic algorithm. If you see that something is missing, you can always add it at a later stage. More color, blending of colors. You can use markers and pencils. All right. All right. So here, I'm going to change the camera again. Hope you enjoyed drawing with us, and please let me know how that was for you. What's the next algorithm you'd like to try? What would you like to achieve, and when is a good time to meet if you would like to have a private session? And waiting to hear from you.